Hi guys, so welcome back to Ascending with Tiff Talks 22. And honeys, we have got a conversation today. So, let me tell you now, there may be some triggers in this particular episode. I'm definitely going to be sharing my personal experiences as necessary. There could be some of you who are in denial, right? That's okay. You'll get the information or hear the message when you need to. Also, I wrote quite a bit about this particular episode, so you're probably going to hear me turn the pages every now and then. Thank you for understanding. But we're going to get right into it. So I had seen a post the other day on social media somewhere where a woman said that she was currently 50 years old and was just realizing something about her dating life. And what is that? It was that she was taking note of how her relationships and her relationship patterns had mimicked the connection with her father, who apparently had been, less than stellar in that role. Yeah, so that's going to be one of the triggers, because some of y'all going to be like, uh-oh, here we go, blaming everything on the parents. And that's not really it. It is just really taking a look at the root, the organic cause or start of our development and how it affects us as adults, okay? So if you feel like, why they always blaming stuff on parents? Because those first three chakras are developed in your childhood, early childhood, from birth till, and your parents are, if not the biggest, one of the biggest influences on your life at that time, and as these three chakras develop. So it's super relevant. So just keep an open mind. I'm praying for that for you guys. But yeah, so this is what she was saying, that she was 50 years old and she was just realizing how her relationship with her dad had impacted her connections, etc. And it's so funny because a couple of years ago when this awakening journey started for me, Spirit kept saying, heal your connection with your parents, or look at your connection with your parents and you'll fix your love life. And I was like, what? I mean, we good, right, honey? I had no idea. I mean, I knew that they correlated, but I felt like, my connection with my parents was pretty decent, right? Child, keep digging and looking, okay? But, so of course, like I'm saying, this was brought to my attention by Spirit a couple years ago, but this is not really new information to me. Because I learned this, like, how old am I? 44? Probably about 20 years ago. Now, I feel like at the time I was still having experiences, so it's not something that I dug deep into. But as you develop patterns and things really come to your attention and you have that desire to change it, then you'll dig deeper into it, okay? So, I really thought it would be interesting to look at the why and the how for us today. So that's what I did. But apparently, guys, this is something that scientists have looked at or studied for a really long time. And I feel like I don't really want to put labels on it, but they call it like your attachment style, which is how you attach or connect to other people in a relationship. So you probably heard the phrase about boys where, they marry their mothers, or you say dads are girls' first love, right? And so that is super true to an extent. It is super true. Boys tend to marry women who not even just physically, but emotionally as well, behave the way that their own mother does or did, okay? So like I said earlier, from a spiritual standpoint, the root chakra, the sacral chakra, the solar plexus chakra, chakras 1, 2, and 3 are really the foundation of it all. But like also from a more scientific standpoint, if you are used to secure attachments or insecure attachments, with your parents, then it's going to affect how you bond as an adult to another adult. So notice I said secure or insecure. That means it can be good or it can be bad. And I don't really like to say bad, because bad is really just about perspective, and that can be altered based on the way you choose to look at a situation. But it just depends on that first source of love or the absence of it. So feeling like a parent abandoned you could absolutely have a major impact on the way that you bond in your relationships. So let me give you some examples. If our parents showed us love, right? Or responded to our needs or validated our feelings, then we're more likely to be secure in the way that we attach in a relationship. Because that's going to be the type of bond that we seek out from others. Of course, your personal experiences as you grow older and have them in various relationships could affect that as well. But more than likely, that's what you're going to go for. And just same way in the opposite direction, right? If you didn't feel like these things were occurring as a child, prepubescent teens in those years, then you're going to gravitate towards those types of connections as well. So, yeah, if you didn't get those things at that time, it is a really critical time, because it's a critical stage of our development. But yeah, we're going to attach to those people that mimic that same energy. And it could show up in your adulthood as, having low self-esteem, or developing trust issues, or doubting everybody. But it's not because it's like, this is what I prefer. I feel like it's almost subconscious, because it's what we know, what we are used to, because it's how we grew up or who we grew up with, right? But the good thing is that you can fix these things, okay? So let's talk a little bit about it. If you grew up with a parent, and it's so funny because I definitely had thought of a couple of examples. Now, I definitely grew up with both of my parents, right? But my mom, I grew up in a single parent household, so I was with my mom a majority of the time. And when it came to my dad, it was like my dad's family. My dad was inconsistent, to say the least. But yeah, so if you grew up around that connection where it was an unreliable connection, or you felt like it wasn't really safe to express your feelings or to speak your mind, one of those children ought to be seen, not heard kind of households from your parents, right? Then that's going to affect the way that you attach to other people as an adult. Secure relationships, your parents may have been attentive, they may have been responsive, they may have been loving. There was a certain sense of stability and reliability on your parents, and it was maybe a more structured environment, not overly strict, but not neglectful, for lack of a better word, right? On the contrary, if you have you would develop a more insecure attachment style if you got maybe conflicting messages from parents about what your stability was, or their emotional reactions were kind of conflicting, right? Where it's like, are they going to be okay today? If I say this, will they get mad today? Or will they laugh it off? Or, just that inconsistent energy where you may have felt like walking on eggshells. If you didn't really feel like reassured by your parents. If you had to kind of fend for yourself at an early age, or expected to be independent, or you need to be able to handle this and you're just a kid, if you grew up with a parent who just kind of felt disinterested in your day-to-day, like they were too busy to focus on whatever it was that you had going on. Or if you grew up with a parent who was more focused on your grades, or how good you were in sports, or your appearance overall, instead of, how you may have been feeling or thinking about something, or processing the emotions of it. That can create that insecure attachment in adulthood as well. Like I said, that inconsistent energy where they don't know if you're happy or sad today. Maybe they were dealing with depression or some sort, and so their moods were unstable. So of course, when they connect to you, or high stress, so when they connect to you, you not knowing how to approach them today, that's an inconsistent energy that may result in you not being secure in your attachments as adults. Or if there was like a certain instability where it's like, okay, some days they respond to the things that you need, and other times they ignore them or let that energy fall by the wayside. That just energy of unpredictability. And then you also have, which is very rare, the very negative. I won't say it's very rare, because hell, the more I learn about what is going on behind the scenes in some households, I feel like it's more common than we know. But traumatic situations of abuse, of neglect, of trauma, where there is a consistent energy of fear in the household, or where there is fear, but then there's also great comfort, right? That is definitely going to affect the way that you attach as an adult. You may you could, let me see, if you are growing up in that secure environment, you may be good at controlling, or you will be good at controlling your emotions and be comfortable speaking on them, because that's the experience that you had with your parents. You may know how to express love to others, which is something that I learned and developed as I got older and realized that it was something that I lacked in childhood, right? I got it from family, from my aunts and, grandmother, those people, but not necessarily specifically and directly from my parents. So as I grew up and got older and began to lose people and whatnot, it just really made it very plain for me how important it is to express that. And so it's just something that I kind of grew into as I grew older. Also, knowing how to show your appreciation for your partner is directly affected to how you felt valued as a child, or your opinions or your feelings were validated as a child. Also, being able to ask for help when you need it directly affected to the way your parents parented you, right? If you felt like, okay, if I tell her I need to buy this and I know we don't have the money for this and she gonna get mad at me, then you're not gonna be comfortable expressing what you need or help getting what you need. You're not gonna be comfortable expressing that, because it's like you knew that would be a trigger or create some type of reaction. So as an adult, you may have a problem asking for help from your partner when you feel like you need it, or accepting help anyway. This could also be something that directly affects your self-esteem, or that feeling of self-worth. And those are, all the selves are definitely developed as a child. And this is not just your parents, but it is the people in your life who are responsible for nurturing you, especially when you get up into the solar plexus, that third chakra. That's closer to teenage, young adult years. And so that's very much dependent on other people around you outside of parents. But I'm talking like childhood, baby, prepubescent, like I said, where your parents are your world, right? Yeah. So also something that it would affect is jealousy. When you've been raised in that secure connection with your parents, you may not be prone to jealousy, because you already know your value, you know your worth, you know what you bring to the table, you know what is great about you, right? So when you are jealous of someone in a connection or in a relationship, that's because you're thinking about what it is that you don't have, right? But when you know what you have, you're less likely to be jealous, right? I'm not jealous of him talking to her because I know what I got over here, right? That kind of energy. Also, how you trust people directly affects that. The way that you felt like you knew that you could rely on or trust your parents in situations. If, as you grew up in those early young child years, you felt betrayed by your parent or shamed by your parent, then it's like, man, I can't even trust my mama and daddy. So yeah, it's going to make it very difficult for you to trust people in relationships. And as I was writing this, I really had an aha moment, like, no wonder, because I've definitely felt betrayed by my own mom on several occasions throughout my life. But yeah. So what is next about this? I really was hesitant to really put labels on it, because to me, well, one, the label is important, but at the same time, it's all stemming. So even if you don't have the label of avoidant or anxious or disorganized anxious, like even if you don't have those labels, I feel like the most important part of it is recognizing the issue over the name that is applied to the issue. But for research purposes, then it might be necessary, right? So if you develop an avoidant attachment style in your relationships as an adult, that means you may avoid intimacy. You may avoid the deep emotional conversations. Why? Because as a child, you were taught, like, when you fall, don't you cry, right? Or, oh, a big one in black families, you better stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Like they didn't just whoop your ass. And like, that shit hurt. I was supposed to cry, right? Yeah. So that inability to express your feelings, or when you have to express your feelings, it's kind of uncomfortable, right? That's an avoidant attachment style. Are you so focused as an adult on being independent, where it's like, well, every man for himself. I don't want to help her with this bill, your spouse or your partner or the person that you're attached to. Or I don't want to help her with this chore. That's her chore. Like, you can't pitch in and cross gender roles, right? So that's another part of avoidant attachment style. When your partner expresses to you emotional stuff and you kind of dismiss it, that's that avoidant, because you're like, don't get all mushy on me, right? That's something that's developed as a direct result of the way you guys dealt with emotions or didn't as you were growing up. We already kind of talked about that trust, the development of trusting people, right? That's, yeah, I feel like a lot of these are so super clear. But what we don't do is really take the time to sit and look and see what it is that we are working with. It's so crazy. Even in just writing this episode, I felt like I had quite a few ahas. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, that one hit, right? If you are a person that needs so much alone time that it affects your relationship, that's avoidant personality. If you have commitment issues and you're afraid to commit to others, that's avoidant personality. And probably like 2 days ago, you know how Facebook memories comes up and they show you different posts? It wasn't yesterday. It was the day before yesterday. Yeah, I had a memory that popped up where I was like, the thought of being committed long term, like forever in a marriage energy, is terrifying to me. And that's a post that I made 10 years ago. So like 3 years ago, when I changed my mind and said, I think I want to get married, my friends was like, what the hell is wrong with you? But I feel like that's that was indicative of me beginning to heal from some past things, right? So once your desire for that commitment or that intimate connection changes, then you know you're working some stuff out, okay? But yeah, if you are afraid to commit, that's usually to avoid hurt or the potential for hurt or pain. That is definitely also something that's developed in early childhood. And it keeps you from getting close to others, of course. So it may show up also as like when things start to get serious, you're having this really good time with someone, you're vibing, things start to get serious, and it's like, I think we need some time apart. Why? Because you're scared. Why are you scared? Because you have an avoidant attachment style as a result of things that you experienced with your own parents as a child. Okay? So I'm just really showing you or bringing some things to your attention on how these things are all intertwined. Okay? So if you have an anxious attachment style, you may grow to be too clingy. And I feel like These are all styles that can develop based on the things that you've experienced. So, well, I'll get to that in just a minute. So with an anxious attachment style, you might be sensitive to criticism, right? Feeling like you disappointed them or you let them down, or it may cause you to be excessively clingy where you can't be alone at all. You know, it's almost the complete opposite of needing alone time. It's like, I don't want to be alone. It's that codependent energy. There's also low self-esteem that comes with that. You need that constant reassurance that, yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. Yes, I want to be with you. You're the only man for me, or you're the only girl for me. You need to be constantly told that, because there may be that underlying fear that, for whatever reason, you know, you're not good enough. So you may need that constant reassurance. And that's also a direct result of an abandonment issue. So that fear of abandonment or being rejected or feeling like you are not worthy of love or healthy love or a good love. Of course, jealousy and trust issues are connected to that anxious attachment energy as well. Then you also have that disorganized attachment style. I feel like it's disorganized anxiety, but I just didn't write it down. Anyway, now this could be a result. This one is more a result of, based on what I saw, of the acute trauma or abuse. So that could result in mood or personality disorders, substance abuse, self-harm, and just real high anxiety. And this is within a partnership or relationship, or you being drawn to someone like that could be directly reflective of perhaps you had a father or mother who dealt with substance abuse issues, or you had a parent that, fostered these energies in you in some way. So the thing is, how do you know, right? How do you know what is affecting you and your patterns and the way you attach in relationships? You look at your past with your parents. If you know that you grew up in a household where you come home from school and it's like the lights is out today, and this is something that happens frequently or every other month, right? That's fairly frequent. So things like that affect in children their sense of security, their sense of stability, because it's just like, this is something else, some adult thing for me to worry about that my parent is unable to handle. This what I was thinking, like, I'm so grateful for my youngest son's dad, because what was happening, he was probably about 9 or 10 at this point, and I was just really having behavioral issues with him. And so that's why I went ahead and let him go live with his dad, because it's like, you know what, you need a man in your life, right? But I feel like, as I look back on that, the universe was doing not only me but him as well an even bigger favor, because I was still in a space where I don't think I was the best parent for him, because I was dealing with so much stress as well, and then focused more so on my older son, who had all his surgeries and medical care and all of those things. So easy for me to be distracted when it came to the younger child, right? So I'm so grateful for him being able to kind of take over the situation, even though we have definitely had our headbutts or whatever. For the most part, we are excellent co-parents, and we are eye to eye on what we want and what is best for our child. And he grew up in a more nurtured lifestyle, almost helicopter parentish, but a more nurtured lifestyle. And so he can give my son that energy that I didn't have, and I didn't even realize that I didn't have it until I was an adult, around his age. So, around this age where, he went to live with dad. But anyway, so how do you know what your attachment style is, or what your relationship issue may be a result of? Look at your past with your parents. Did you grow up in a household where you had to walk on eggshells? Did you grow up in a household where your parent was always chasing relationships with the other person? I remember this story. My mom loves to tell this story, and I hear it and I just friggin' cringe. But I'm going to share it because she shares it with me or reminds me all the time. And even as an adult now, I correct her because it's like if I ask you what it is you want, don't, and you say anything, oh, anything's fine. No, 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 no. Be specific and let me know what it is that you want, what it is that you desire. Because a lot of times when you say any kind or anything, it could be that you just don't care, or it could be an energy of you not feeling like you deserve what it is you really want. So it's like, I'm going to just be good with whatever you bring me. Unacceptable. Set your standards high, right? So my mom, say we would go meet my dad at the grocery store for him to buy groceries for the house or something like that. And he'd be like, okay, girls, what kind of dish y'all want? What kind of dish y'all want? And she said, we would just be like, any kind, any kind. And I was like, that's so sad. Because the thing is, it's like, whatever it is that you are doing for us, we're okay with it. Because at least we have you here and we have you showing this energy of care, right? So I hate that friggin' story because I feel like it just shows wounds, okay? It shows the beginning of a wound for sure. So I remember I was in a third-party connection. Well, I didn't know that at the time. But when it all kind of hit the fan, I was in a third-party connection, and this girl, the girl who was on the other side of the coin, was like, she was questioning how I didn't know, and I'm questioning how she didn't know, because he was literally with me all the time. And she's like, well, he wasn't doing anything for you. And I said, he did what I required of him, right? And so that was absolutely true, right? If I told you I needed more time, I got more time. Like we were literally together all the time, except for him being at work. But we spent a lot of time together. But then I was thinking about that even years later, where it was like he did do what was required of me, but I don't also feel like I required a lot of him. And why is that? Because I was in a space at the time, for sure, where I was like, this is what and who I deserve. Because I wasn't comfortable or happy with Tiffany, right? So, honey, it is all connected, honey. So I said that to say this. There is a need for you to be able to be honest with yourself about your connection with your parents and how it parallels your relationships, right? There's a need for you to be able to correlate the two. But you have to be honest, like, yeah, you did require nothing of him, right? Sure, he did what you expected and what you asked, but you ain't asked for shit. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be honest with yourself to be able to correct it. That's all I'm saying. So be sure that you're open to thinking about what the parallels are. So yeah, I feel like that's directly connected to the inconsistency that I received from my father, and being okay with receiving that from masculines that I was involved with. All right. Also that self-esteem thing, feeling like I wasn't worthy because I was just, at the time, I was just Gabe's mom, or I was just my Isaiah's mom. And for me, just a mom was way less than I wanted to be for, all my life. For sure. And so it's like that energy of low self-esteem and self-worth is going to directly determine what it is that you put up with or accept, right? So also, how do you know and how do you fix this? Look for understanding. Look for, like I said, trying to do research with the intention of understanding the dynamic in you and how it showed up in your life and your childhood, okay? But also be open to reading any material that you find, books on healthy relationships, the healthy dynamic. This is something else that, but choose to fix it, right? You really have to make a choice, not just learn it and know it. Because like I said, this is something that I learned 20 some odd years ago, but I wasn't ready to fix it. I was still stuck in my energy. And until you choose to fix it, it's going to be a cycle that repeats itself, which is exactly what it did. And then at that point, you can repair it. But that made me think of something that I was going to say. There's also a need, though, to not be in that energy of blaming your parents. You have to also be able to think about how they grew up and what they grew up with or without as well. And Instead of letting that resentment build, try to look at it from that compassionate energy, that compassionate space, where it's like, well, hell, they didn't have it either, so how are they going to give it to me? You know what I mean? So that's where it comes in, that I'm so appreciative to be able to let my son's father take the lead in that, because a lot of the things that I was lacking, he was not. Does that make sense? So yeah, can you improve this situation? Can it be improved? Absolutely. Can it also be made worse? Absolutely. It just depends on what your expectations are in the relationship and the experiences that you have. So if you have an insecure attachment style and you are partnered with or in a relationship with someone who has a more secure attachment style, then that could help you to heal and to improve. But be advised, it could also be like toxicity spreading, right, and bring out some things that are the worst in your partner. So just be willing to recognize the triggers and how it is that you function in partnerships, so you'll know if you're adding to the problem or helping to fix the problem. But also, there's definitely a need for you to focus on what your traumas are and to heal those things. Definitely be open to building your self-esteem, the importance of affirmations. I will never not stress enough. Definitely be open to accepting yourself. Be open to speaking your truth and being honest with yourself and with others about that. Even today, I was talking to my friend, and well, he reached out, and I said something. It was really, really like surface level, superficial. But here I am, like, feeling some resentment, some type of way, right? And so you know what Spirit did. Y'all know I'm sensitive. So what Spirit did was make my throat start itching. Like when I'm doing y'all's readings, y'all's love readings, and I'm seeing that there's something that someone's not speaking on and they need to speak up about, my throat will have a literal reaction because of the sensitivity. So I knew that was something that Spirit wanted me to speak on. So I had to say, okay, so we just going to pretend like this didn't happen the other day. Like, we just not going to address it. We're just going to keep moving and not address it at all. And so I had to let them know, like, yeah, I too am growing and working on some things. And Spirit was not going to let me just carry on a normal conversation with you and not address what I was feeling. So that's part of my lessons and my growth as well, learning to express my emotions without it being the end of the world, without it being something that creates a catastrophe, right? Just being able to speak your mind. Also know this, when you suppress your expression, or you suppress emotions, it directly affects your thyroid. Yeah, and I know people who don't want to believe that as well, but they're also currently healing thyroid issues. So be open to speaking your heart, speaking your truth, and being honest about what it is you feel, instead of feeling like you can't. If you speak about how you really feel, it's going to make you less than a person or less deserving of a person, etc. Right? Be willing to speak your truth, and also learn how to resolve conflict instead of shutting down or avoiding a topic or running away from the big conversation, right? You have to be open to resolving an issue without it being the end of the connection. But then, something that I'm thinking of now that is just most important, you really have to attach yourself to someone who is going to be willing to understand that this level of growth is a process, right? Someone who's going to be willing to go on a journey with you as you repair things, and who are open to having a healthy connection or a healthy relationship, right? Because the fact of the matter is, we all grew up with something, whether we want to believe it or not, right? I had a prophetic dream about a couple that I know of, and on the outside looking in, her parents had an amazing marriage, right? However, there was also an energy connected to her of feeling like she was running out of time, and so she ended up marrying someone quickly just to be able to say that she was married, and here we are in this toxic dynamic as an adult. So I had a whole dream about that, but she still hasn't reached out to me. And I understand that, you heal when you're ready to heal. But, yeah, so I just really thought this was an important thing to discuss. But also, guys, this is the importance of, as parents, being able to, or not even being able to, but needing to be super aware of how our own stuff affects our children, especially if we are in the middle of raising children and we're still so stressed out and distracted by all these other things, or we're not trying to heal, or we're not looking at our stuff, or we're not thinking that they're paying attention to our relationships. It is all directly connected and affecting them, right? So parents, definitely get your stuff together so that your children are not adults having to heal from your trauma, the trauma that you created or birthed in them, right? And I'm not, like I said, they can't give you what they didn't get. But at the same time, that's where it comes in, where you have to be responsible for your own healing, right? Yeah. I really had been wanting to do this podcast episode probably for like 2 weeks now, and I've just been procrastinating. And my mood and my energy has been so blah. This morning, I did some Reiki, I did a little walking, I got outside, I did a little meditating, and then finally, something occurred, and I was like, girl, just gonna record that episode. But yeah, that's probably why, because I'm telling you, I understand, it can be tough to look at your own stuff, alright, and actually get a good whiff of it. So yeah, it's not easy to do, and it's not a simple thing, but just be willing to be honest with yourself. It's definitely universal, and it crosses gender lines. So fellas, know this, that I'm speaking from a feminine standpoint, right? Because I'm a girl, right? My mom and dad raised all girls. However, I'm raising boys. And you know, that's who I'm in connections and relationships with. So, but just know that crosses gender lines, okay? It's universal. When I say it's universal, it's for all of us, all right? Your trauma affects the way that you move in relationships. Your life experiences affect the way that you move in relationships. Everything ain't gonna be that girl's fault. Everything ain't gonna be the other person's fault. So be willing to smell your own crap too, all right? And do the work to heal. So, I hope this was helpful, guys. Y'all let me know. I was really excited to do this because I feel like it's something that not enough people really look at. Because, yeah, they have a hard time criticism of themselves or people that they love, etc. But be willing to be honest. So, I'm so grateful that you joined. If you listened through this amount of time, I hope I wasn't talking too fast. I was trying to really stay under 45 minutes, which I see I succeeded at. So I guess we good on that. And yeah, I hope this is helpful overall. But definitely, if you want to do more digging into it, I invite you to do that. Search relationship attachment styles, okay, to get more info and to focus more on what it is that you can do to repair the way you connect in relationships. Thank you for your support and following me, and I value your feedback, so hit me with that too. Love and light, guys. Bye bye.